Everybody, it's Qcknd and welcome back to another episode of Tattoo Talk Tuesday, our weekly tattoo interactive talk show where I kind of explore user-generated tattoo question submissions and excuse me, don't jump on the window. So this week, I have a pretty cool question, pretty cool life experience to lend the audience, and this question was, hey, I just saw the question you got on unfinished tattoo artists. Just curious if you had any advice finding good artists willing to finish other good artists' pieces. What is this question referencing? So a few days ago on Tumblr, I had this question, any advice for dealing with an artist who's putting off finishing a tattoo, like just the last hour or so? So with this question, I kind of just answered this on Tumblr because I wanted to offer kind of immediate advice to this person. And this is what I said to the person, and this is based off of experience, unfortunately.
I would head to the shop and ask if you can make an appointment with the person, with the tattoo artist in person. I feel like this is the most direct way to send a message that you're trying to finish a tattoo without being too pushy. Or alternatively, call the shop and schedule an appointment with the artist, so it's just in the books and you can show up and get your final hour done with. If both of these solutions don't end up working and you run out of options, I would head back to the shop and ask for your deposit back. If the tattoo artist won't finish your tattoo, you're entitled to your deposit, unless it's already been applied to your first session of the tattoo. I would do that directly with the shop, and ideally on a day the artist isn't there, because that would be a final straw sort of thing.
So, unfortunately, to jump into this episode on a sad note, sometimes our tattoos, we start them and they can't be finished. There are a lot of different problems that kind of come up and generate this unfortunate circumstance, and sometimes, like the first person, your artist is unwilling to finish only a small hours worth of work, or maybe there is some fine tuning that needs to happen, or there are some other things. You disagree with the artist, they're unwilling to make that appointment for you. But what do we do with these unfinished tattoos that sometimes artists don't want to or can't finish? Unfortunately, it is really hard to find someone who is able to pick up where your previous artist left off, and I know a lot of artists are unwilling to do this, especially if this artist has a name in the industry. It's usually pretty difficult for tattoo artists to be willing to pick up sort of a more well-known tattoo artist's work. It's often really hard to pick up where an artist left and put yourself in their mindset. So I think the best solution, which isn't always the available solution, but the best solution for you is to come up with some sort of middle ground with your artist to get your tattoo finished. If you seek out someone alternative to finish your tattoo, they're gonna ask you what the circumstances were under that the tattoo couldn't be finished by the original person. I think that there are some very understandable circumstances, such as the tattoo artist passed away, they're no longer tattooing, they moved to a different country, sort of things like that, or they're just not tattooing anymore. Often artists will ask you this question because if it's as simple as, oh, they moved to a different state, but it's still relatively close, you may be encouraged to still continue to get your work done by that artist, even if it's just, unfortunately, a plane ticket. But in my experience, when tattoo artists are about to move away, they'll usually put it everywhere, and they'll put up clear reminders, hey, I'm moving from Philadelphia, and I'm moving to California. If you have any open work done, please email me. I've seen this a lot on Instagram. I think it's really important to follow your artists on social media because this is where they're putting that information out there. And you need to catch them if they're going to move away or if they're putting information out there like that. Or if your tattoo artist is possibly taking a year off, maybe for mental health, physical health, wedding, moving, pursuing other hobbies. These are also great times for you to kind of learn up on your tattoo artist, figure out what they're doing, and if you speak to another artist about having your work finished, they may encourage you to just wait until your tattoo artist is tattooing again, possibly a year later. However, if it is at all possible for you to get your original work done by your original artists, other artists are very likely to convince you to seek your original artist, even if it's 6 hours away or something along those lines. If there's an argument you had, you may be encouraged to find a solution, even though I know everybody wants to be right. Sometimes if there are disagreements, you kind of have to find a middle ground and get your work completed. My big issue with my cover up is my tattoo artist moved away and also has very other kind of interests that they want to pursue. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily easy for me to get one of my tattoos completely redone, but when I mentioned like, A, that tattoo artist is not tattooing anymore, B, they live on the other side of the country and they're pursuing other hobbies that are not necessarily tattoo related, and C, the tattoo is over 5 to 6 years old, so there's definitely no feelings on the tattoo artist's end who originally created the tattoo. So with all of those things in mind, it was really easy for me to ask. Not even easy, I don't want to say it was easy because it wasn't. It was a lot of back and forth, but those things in mind made it a lot easier for me to almost convince my artist to help me with my cover-up. However, I have had 2 other cover-ups that have been nearly impossible to get done. I have one video completely on my shark tattoo. If you haven't seen it yet, I will link you to it, because those of you who have seen it know how difficult it was for me to find an artist who was willing to pick up the pieces of my shark tattoo. And even then, I had to seek someone out of town, and I had to promise them that I love you so much. You would never get a tattoo. You would never get a tattoo. He has a tattoo. It's right there. That's where his chip is. So even when I was seeking another person to finish the tattoo, my shark tattoo, there was still a lot of information I had to give to the artist. Who was the original artist? Why did we end our relationship? Where does that artist currently tattoo? And am I likely to see them again and tell them? Because there is a lot of, it's very taboo for other artists to tattoo or finish tattoos that other artists created. My story that I'm going to share today is all about my tattoo right here. If you've ever seen it, you're probably like, what even is that tattoo? Because it doesn't look like my other tattoos, and it's pretty strange, and it's kind of a unique style. So the story about that tattoo goes, I was seeing a tattoo artist, and I was seeing them pretty regularly, so I was in a place in my heart where I was like, I trust this artist, and I can give them almost little to no notice. Making an appointment was only ever like 2 weeks ahead of time, and our conversations were familiar and fluid, and I felt really comfortable with this artist. I never thought that they would up and leave. So they had changed shops a couple times, but I was driving back then, it didn't matter. So they had started working in this shop that was kind of a little far away from my house, probably 45 minutes, and it was very northern Pennsylvania, so if you know anything about Pennsylvania, that's when it gets kind of sticksy. So I remember this tattoo shop literally was like on the side of a cliff. And I thought it was really cool, really kitschy. He had his own private section, which was really unique because he didn't have that before. So I felt like, oh, this is a great atmosphere, like all the trust. So I made an appointment one day and I was like, hey, I don't really know what tattoo I want, but I know what kind of feeling I want it to convey. I don't do this anymore. But he was like, okay, cool, like the Smiths. And I was like, oh yeah, like the Smiths. Woo! So I got there and he didn't really have anything drawn up, but I didn't really feel weird about that because, like I said, I had only conveyed like a little bit of information. A couple years later, I find out that this is Sailor Jerry Flash. And like, I don't really have too much of an issue with it. I only found out though because one of my friends emailed me the Ed Hardy shirt that it's on. So I was like, damn it. But, you know, years later, does anyone really wear Ed Hardy anymore? I think I'm in the clear. Anyway, so we start the tattoo and he just does the line work, we're kind of talking and he's like, hey, it's getting pretty late. Do you want to come next week to do the color? So if you know any of my tattoos, this one is still relatively small to not get the color done. I sat for all these other tattoos from beginning to end. But like I said, there was a lot of established trust. The atmosphere was pretty okay. You know, driving out there wasn't the worst. It was scenic, mountainy. So 2 weeks went by, the tattoo was healed. I call the shop to make an appointment. And I'm like, hey, is blah 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 there? To make an appointment. Not that he would pick up the phone, but... And the front desk person was like, no, he's gone. Do you know where he is? And I was like outside having a cig? And she was like, no. He packed up all of his stuff in the middle of the night and left. And his phone is off, and we haven't been able to talk to him for 2 weeks. And I was like, why would I know? I don't even know his last name. So the woman on the phone was like, well, if you hear anything, please call us. And she hung up. And I didn't know how to feel. I was upset, I was angry, I was scared. I felt like I had like a nice client relationship with this tattoo artist. I didn't want them to be dead. It kind of sounded like there was a break-in. So a few days went by, and I'm kind of telling my friends like, yo, my tattoo artist, I think he's dead. I think he was kidnapped, like abducted by aliens. Like he's just gone. No one knows where he is. His phone is off. This was like 5 or 6 years ago, so there wasn't really social media like really buzzing at this point. So it's not like he had an Instagram, not like he had MySpace. So there wasn't really any place to look for him. And I only knew like X, Y, and Z about him, so what was I supposed to do? So about 6 months go by, and I'm hanging out in Doylestown, which is, you know, where I grew up, and my like best friend's dad is a bartender. So I'm there, and I'm kind of talking to him, and I'm like, oh man, like blah 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 really screwed me over when they hopped ship and just left town in the middle of the night. And my friend's dad was like, who? I know him. He's not gone. He comes here all the time for drinks. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I have to get this tattoo finished. I had asked another artist to finish it, and they were like, I would finish it, but I don't know what that is. And I was like, come on, dude, I don't know what that is either. Like, don't make it worse. Well, my friend's dad set it up where I would run into my tattoo artist. This is not a lie. So the night came for me to run into him, and I came into the bar, and I don't drink, so it was already really weird, like, so I come into the bar, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, hey, oh my god, how are you? Like, he's talking to an old friend, and I'm like, where did you go? What happened to you? Everyone who, like, quasi cares about you thinks that you're dead. He was like, yeah, you know, like, I just live that lifestyle, and I just got to pack up and leave sometimes. Like, I'm a gypsy. Like, I can just pack up and leave. And I remember he used to use that word all the time, and I was kind of just like, it's a racial slur. But I was like, okay, that's cool, and that's unique, and, like, everyone's jealous, but are you gonna finish my tattoo or what? And he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I forgot. Oh my god. And I was like, yeah, I'm listening. Are we finishing this tattoo, like, right now? He's like, oh, like, I'm really sorry, but I don't work in a tattoo shop anymore. And I was like, yeah, no shit, like, you burned that bridge, like, they still think you're dead. So he was like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not really, like, staying anywhere right now. And then my friend's dad is like, you can finish it at my house. So I'm not even kidding. Later that night, we sterilized the kitchen, and I had my first, like, tattoo in someone's house. I'm really grateful that, like, my friend's dad, like, orchestrated all of this, and I was able to get the tattoo finished, but I felt like it required a lot of teamwork. It was really sketchy, and the tattoo doesn't really go with the rest of my arm. It's, like, pretty weird. It's pretty weak too. You can see that it's like significantly lighter than all of my other tattoos. So that is my horror story for my tattoo artist who just up and left town. And that is the last tattoo I got from them, obviously. And I don't say their name, and I don't promote them, and I don't encourage that behavior, because even as a hairstylist, like, I have a relationship with my clients and I would not screw them over like that. And tattooing is like so much more like, oh, where were you? I needed my roots done, versus you didn't finish this tattoo. And the shop called me because they thought you were dead. Here are some solutions for you if you are kind of in the same ballpark as me trying to get a tattoo finished. Actively seek out the original artist and kind of work with what you can and tell them that you would like this tattoo finished. And if it's your fault for any reason that it's unfinished, such as they moved away and you didn't see that Instagram post, or you know, you kind of let it go for a long time, like, I would always express your fault. That way it doesn't seem like you're being accusational in the email, and you need to approach it like you're approaching a baby deer. Like, I'm sorry, I know I haven't emailed you back in a year and a half, but we need to start working on my tattoo again, is that cool? Had some sort of intellectual disagreement with your tattoo artist and you don't like the way the tattoo is going, or like halfway through you're deciding that they're not a good artist and you need to get this like worked out by somebody else, it might be a good chance, it might be a good time to seek someone out who specializes in this kind of tattooing. I know that a lot of people will put it out on their Instagram that they do cover-ups or that they specialize in cover-ups. These are kind of people to seek out, or someone on Instagram who actively posts like rework tattoos or blast over tattoos, because some of my favorite artists don't do cover-ups. I have emailed, when I was working to get my purple rose redone, I probably emailed about 5 different people just to get the word out there that I was interested in getting it reworked. And the original artist obviously couldn't do it because they disappear all the time. So I always express what kind of situation I'm in, and don't make it too lengthy, don't make it too wordy. If you were in my shoes, don't tell that whole story. That's between us friends. If you have, you know, just an hour left of this tattoo and it seems impossible to get in contact with your artist, or there's just a couple things that need to be fine-tuned, and this artist lives in a different country now, it is definitely acceptable to go to a local shop and have some fine-tuning done, a walk-in only kind of place. If you trust somebody you might not really know, doing these small fixes. If you know what they're supposed to be though, I think it's perfectly okay to express that to another person and have them able to fix it. If it's like another 2 to 3 hours worth of work, I always recommend contacting the original artist. And another thing, you can call the shop, like I mentioned in that first Tumblr response, and maybe talk to the shop hand, talk to like the shop manager, and maybe really kind of figure out what you can do in order to get that original artist's work done. Or, I've seen this done before, if an artist moves away, I've seen different Instagram posts where it's like, I'm moving away, but Tommy is gonna take over all my clients, they have a really similar style, blah blah blah. Tommy is just a name I made up. So there are a lot of options for you, but I think always getting your work completed by the original artist is sometimes going to be the easiest route, because getting your work finished by someone else is going to require a lot of convincing. And even though I did seek out another artist to finish my tattoo, waiting the 6 months for my tattoo artist to show his face again did make it all worth it. Obviously, I didn't patronize him anymore. When the tattoo was finished, I was like, I don't think I should pay you for this because you put me through a lot of emotional stress. And he said, I agree with that, you're right. But, you know, fault can come from any direction. So if it's your fault that the tattoo isn't finished, you know, you were like, hey, life got in the way, express that when you contact your artist and definitely see if you can work anything out. As for me, my whole lesson is, unless it is like an arm piece or a leg piece, I will sit through tattoos from beginning to end. And I am tap out queen. Like, I cannot sit for any tattoos at all. Numbing cream in my purse. Like, I have the hardest time getting tattooed now. But after my terrible experiences, I would sit through anything to make sure my tattoos were completed. That's why now I only stick with super reliable artists. I know their life story, I ask what their plans are, where they're going on vacation, like, I need to know everything about this artist so I can feel at peace again after my experiences. Like, I'm going to have my back done by somebody who lives 2 hours away, and they're always gonna live 2 hours away, and they're going to complete it from start to finish. And sometimes that needs to be stated in your initial consultation. Are you gonna be able to finish this? It might sound really stupid, but you wanna hear what your artist might say. Like, yeah, I'd love to finish it, I just wanna let you know I'm going to Rome in July. And you can be like, okay, cool. Something like that can help you so much. But if you feel like this video didn't answer any of your questions or guide you in the right direction, please let me know. And I'm deeply sorry that you may have an unfinished tattoo on your body. But I hope some of these tips and this story will help guide you. Let me know what you think, and thank you again for watching this episode of Tattoo Talk Tuesday. I love you guys so much, and until next week, bye! Hey everybody, it is Qcknd and John. So today I wanted to do a plush of the month video. I wanted to